Hey guys, welcome to today's Vehicle Visionary. Today I've borrowed this 2022 Volvo XC40 T5R design for my friends at Holmes Volvo Cars. And boy, I'm glad that I'm not going to have to retake that scene and hopefully say all of that again. For 2022, here is what's new. That really was not intentional, by the way, but the only changes are standard and available features and their availability. There's a lot to talk about there, so I won't list it all on the screen, but just so you can be forewarned, you can always go to the Volvo website and price out a model to see what those changes might be to keep from making this video entirely too long. And before we get too far into today's video, I would like to give a shout out to the video sponsor, ProGlow. And there's actually two other products besides this one, but this is ProGlow Power Sports Wash. And it is one of the greatest multitaskers I have ever found. You can use it for so many different things. Anything that you need to get caked on mud and dirt off of, it does so without a problem. In fact, I have a full video where I demoed this and a couple of the other ProGlow products that are available, the trifecta they call it, that all work together. So what all can you use this for? If you are a car detailer, or maybe you like to detail your own car on the weekends or whenever you have time, let's just say you've got a lot of dirt caked inside the fender well here, that is the ideal thing that you can use this for, among many other things, such as cleaning off your dirty four-wheeler, your side-by-side if you're a dirt track racer, and maybe the XC40 is your daily driver when you're not hauling your dirt track car around, or mud racer, or whatever the case may be. This is what you need. Like I said, after you've finished watching this video, check out the link in the description of this video where I do a full demonstration on how this works. And for those of you who have made it to this point without skipping by, make sure to leave a comment in the comment section of this video. That way you will automatically be entered for the giveaway of this package of ProGlow Power Sports Wash. All you have to do is leave a comment and you're automatically entered. Here on the front end, you will find LED headlights, LED daytime running lights, and fog lights here on the lower portion of the front bumper. The all-season tires are wrapped around 19-inch hard-design alloy wheels. And for those who always ask, yes, there is a turn signal indicator built in to these power folding side view mirrors. When you lock the vehicle, of course, those are going to fold conveniently out of the way. And if you want to know what the safety features are on this vehicle, pause the video right now. I'm so glad you unpaused the video after looking at those safety features, because now we're going to talk about what's under the hood here of this all-wheel drive XC40. It's the 2-liter turbocharged direct injection 4-cylinder. It puts out 248 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. That's mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission that ultimately puts power to the ground via all-wheel drive. And you might say, man, 248 horsepower, that's not a lot. Well, it depends on your situation and your needs. For some people, that's going to be plenty. And it does get down the road, no problem. No issues with accelerating up to highway speeds, maybe a little bit beyond, especially when you're merging off of the traffic ramp, or the on-ramp, I should say, into traffic. Hint, hint, for especially you Shreveport drivers. But one of the biggest advantages of the 248 horsepower is that the gas mileage numbers are solid at 22 miles per gallon estimated city, 30 out on the highway. According to Volvo, that comes to a combined total of 25 miles per gallon. And I guess it depends on how you drive on how this ultimately works out, but what I see on the label as far as what Volvo says you can do, you should burn 4 gallons of gas per every 100 miles you drive. Tell me down in the comments where you are watching from and what your current daily driver is. And if you're thinking about buying one of these XC40s, according to Volvo, if you want to tow with it, you can tow up to 3,500 pounds. Of course, you do have the hands-free tailgate. Let's see if I can do this in one take. All right, sometimes that's a little challenging because I don't do it every single day. So let's talk a little bit about cargo space. You already know what the towing capacity is. Cargo ranges between 20.7 cubic feet course, you can lower those rear seats. I'll show you how to do that on the screen. It's really simple to do, and they're not very heavy, so easy to operate as far as laying them down and then putting them back into their upright position. But when they're laying flat, you look at a maximum cargo space of an impressive 47.2 cubic feet. And of course, you have the cargo mat right here and the floor underneath that. And for those of you who I know are not fans of the tire repair kits, well, never fear, because under the floor right here, and again, I didn't really mean to do that, is a spare tire. Of course, with being a power rear lift gate, you do have the two buttons right here to lock the interior as you close the rear gate, or you can just push that button right there and the rear gate will close. You also have the cargo cover there that is removable if you don't want to leave that inside. And before we talk about the rear seat area, let's talk a little bit about the fact that you have a panoramic sunroof. The front portion can slide open, and it does offer a great view for your rear seat passengers. But if it's really sunny and maybe that's putting in too much heat, or for whatever reason it may be, there is a power shade that can be brought forward to basically keep everybody in the shade while driving down the road. Of course, you're going to have your cup holders here in the built-in armrest, and also there is a pass-through right here in the middle area of these seats if you want to use, well, that area for whatever, skis, maybe some lumber if you want to spend tons of money to go to Lowe's or Home Depot, and whatever else you might want to fit through there, just in case you wanted to know. And a lot of space back here. It's actually quite roomy and quite comfortable, especially if you're sitting in the middle seat right here. And there are 3 seats here. There are 3 seat belts, by the way, before the correction Nazis jump in and say, "It's not a 5-seater." I could just hear that happening. But anyway, too much experience on YouTube. Anyway, back on track here. Dual air conditioning vents as well. And the correction Nazis can't say anything about those dual air conditioning vents. You also have connectivity down here, and you'll notice those 2 buttons right there for the heated rear seats. But again, if you're that middle seat passenger and it's really cold outside, I guess you're just going to have a cold rump, because the heated seats only work on the outside seats. The interior is filled with high-end materials that will last. Everything not only looks good, but it's well built and very solid. As far as the driver goes, if you have more than one driver driving your XC40, you've got seat memory right here, 2 different settings for that, so always something convenient. On the instrument cluster, you will find navigation built in right there, so the driver doesn't have to look to the infotainment screen. That just makes things a lot easier. And on the left-hand side of the steering wheel, if you've never learned what that lever is for, besides operating those LED headlights and fog lights and all that kind of stuff, it's called the turn signal lever. When you are changing lanes or turning to the left, you push it into the down position. Or when you're turning to the right or changing lanes to the right, you push it into the up position. It lets people around you know what you're doing. What a novel idea! I just can't imagine. And I can't really say anything sarcastic about what's on the right-hand side of the steering wheel. It's okay to laugh, especially if you've made it to this point of the video. Thanks, guys, by the way, for doing that. On the right-hand side of the steering wheel, the functionality for the windshield wipers and everything associated with that. Steering wheel mounted controls, and you do have a lot of very unique little spaces around for small items. You can store business cards or maybe even credit cards if you wanted to. I don't know if that'd be the best idea depending on where you're parking. Over here on the left side of the dashboard, you'll see those 2 little areas where you can insert that. There's actually another spot right here, maybe a little bit safer, underneath the area where your connectivity is found, just above the wireless charging pad. What a nice segue into that feature. Of course, you're going to have your touch screen here and a very nice clear view with the rear view camera. Of course, you've got that overhead 360-degree view as well that you can zoom in all around the vehicle to see what's around you. If you're in a really tight spot, maybe you're thinking, oh man, what's around me, or how close am I to what's in front of me or behind me so I don't hit it, all that kind of stuff. Very helpful, very useful. Now, one thing I will say here, I would like to see eventually change in the future maybe, and tell me in the comments what you think about this. It'd be nice to see maybe down here underneath the infotainment screen some manual controls for the air conditioner. Right now, everything is still used to adjust that in the infotainment screen. Tell me what you think about that. I think you can probably get used to that. It's not that big of a deal, but I know when you're driving down the road and you want to change something, when you're driving alone like I am today, well, there's not much you can do about that. And of course, you've got your shifter and all the controls and everything here for putting it back into park, your vehicle into park and all that kind of stuff. And if you're wondering how to turn off the auto stop start feature, if you want to do that, there's no control here on the on the center console to do that. That is found within the infotainment screen as well. And another interesting thing here is one of the multitaskers, and that's right here. It goes right here in the center console. This is really meant to be used as a trash can, but obviously you can use that as a multitasker if you want to fill that with whatever you want to, or you can take that out and you'll have even more room inside this center console for filling it with Vehicle Visionary t-shirts. Hint, hint, that link's down in the description as well. All right, here we go on a quick test drive with the XC40. And as I said earlier in the video, you don't need a ridiculous amount of horsepower, especially somebody who's going to buy a model like this. Some people are going to say 248 horsepower is not enough. And if it wasn't for this slow-moving F-150 that is not even close to the speed limit of 50 miles an hour, well, we might get this guy having a wreck here in just a second if he doesn't figure out. Maybe he's looking for the gas pedal or the fuel pedal. That's a diesel. But he's looking for the fuel pedal, and that's why he's all over the road. But he must have found it because now he's moved up to the speed limit. Good. Anyway, outside of the sarcasm of what's going on around me, with 248 horsepower, a lot of people are going to say that's not enough power, but I don't think those who buy the XC40 are necessarily looking for push you back in the seat and plant you in the seat horsepower. Now, if you do want more horsepower, of course, there is the XC40 Recharge, the P8, that does 0 to 60 according to Volvo in 4.7 seconds. That's the all-electric version. I actually did get that model to do 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds in a video last year, or maybe early this year, but it's not an issue. Horsepower is not the name of the game here. If you're looking for good solid gas numbers as far as mileage goes, if you have a long commute every day, this is a good model to consider. The ride quality itself is good, and even though this is really one of the better roads in the area where I live, I always kid around about the fact that I have my own personal test track for testing shocks and suspension. It's called the streets of Shreveport, Louisiana. That's really not a lie, by the way. I'm not exaggerating, but that's one thing I have to say is very strong here. A lot of the time when you have a smaller SUV like this with a shorter wheelbase, you do wind up with a ride that is not the most comfortable. That is not the case here. This XC40 has a nice smooth ride on every road surface I've ever had it on, and I'm sure, let's get that out of our mouths correctly, I'm sure that, boy, I'm getting distracted by that F-250 down there, the red F-250. He just is enjoying hugging the side of the road right there, the shoulder. Oh my goodness, I'm glad he's not behind me because I might feel more uncomfortable, but everything here, easy to get to, easy to use, easy to learn if you haven't had a vehicle like this. A lot of people talk about how the touchscreen in this model is a little challenging to learn, and maybe up front it is, but just like anything else, once you get used to it, it's not that bad. But one thing I said earlier, I would like to see some more functionality and controllability for the air conditioner that's not within the screen. Just my personal view of that. I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I think it would definitely make things a little bit easier, especially if you're driving by yourself. Like I said earlier, when you don't have somebody in the passenger seat to say, hey, would you go into the screen and adjust the AC? But tell me your experiences with that kind of thing down in the comments. I'm curious to know. But overall, this XC40 is a great SUV. For the class that it's in, it does very well. It has solid cargo space, a lot of interesting little nooks and crannies to store things. The seating is comfortable, and if you haven't watched me before, one of the great points I like to make is that sometimes you'll have a vehicle where one thing or the other cancels itself out with, or the other out, I should say, with contributing to good ride quality. What do I mean by that? The seating itself is comfortable, but the suspension is stiff, or the suspension is good at giving solid ride quality that's comfortable and enjoyable, but the seating itself is not so comfortable. You got a good balance of two good working systems here between the seats and the suspension. So overall, good quality. Pretty good acceleration too once you get a little bit of RPM up out of the engine. But like I say, if you're looking for high performance, this probably isn't the vehicle for you. There is a segment of the population that isn't that worried about performance, and they would definitely be happy with this vehicle. A lot of great technology, safety features, everything overall very good from Volvo. And that is a quick tour of the 2022 version of the Volvo XC40 T5R design. Don't forget to leave a comment, guys. That way you're automatically entered to win that package from today's video sponsor, ProGlow, with the Power Sports Wash. Got to say a special thanks to my friends at Holmes Volvo Cars, and of course to all of you for being kind enough to give me the opportunity to give you a vision for your next vehicle. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out another of the videos that's right over here right now, and I'll see you there.